Okay, welcome back to another episode of Unnamed Fireman's Podcast with MacDaddy and Rusty Walrus.
What's up?
Today we're going to talk about uh, safety culture. Today we're going to talk about basic SOGs that probably should be overviewed and looked at.
Absolutely.
Whose fault is it when someone gets hurt? You know, there's a lot of things we're going to talk about in this episode, so let's get after it. How are things with you, sir?
Pretty good. Been busy. Summertime and kids and sports going on and just life, work.
It's
It man, it seems like every day you're like, oh my God, I can't catch up. I can't
yeah.
catch up. And,
Oh God, I know.
you know,
And a
I
podcast.
was, yeah. And I was looking for a break for summer. That hasn't worked out. I got one in cheer camp and another one doing flag football. And, I'm like, really? So.
Well, it is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to you. How things been going with you?
Awesome, busy.
Yeah.
Uh, Same old stuff. Working.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it is in your area, but we're pretty seasonal here. So wildfire season's kicking up here pretty quick, and we're just getting our
That's
guys.
always fun.
We're getting our guys ready for it. We have a big airport in our district that we're having to. There's some new responsibilities in that airport that we're having to deal with, and some political
What
stuff that we're dealing with.
what are you guys adding with this airport? Like, is
Well,
it for your wildfire situations or is it totally separate?
it's totally separate. It's basically its own incident. If anything ever happens in the airport, it's an international airport.
Okay.
We basically got told that it's our district now, and so we're in charge of it. So
You're like, thanks.
yeah, and you're talking, anywhere from I think it's like 250 passengers or something like that. I don't really know. I don't know.
Oh wow.
I'm not an airplane guy,
Now,
so I don't know how many people's on there, but
did they already have a department at the airport
they,
that y'all kind of annexed in
well,
or
they did. They do. They still do, and they have the airport is out there still. The airport fire, the ARF rescue guys are still there. They went through a bit of a restructure out there. Not really a restructure. So basically, they lost some guys and they added some guys and they added some more medical stuff. Nothing's really changed for us. We're still doing the exact same thing we're going to be doing when we go out there. It's just that maybe our confidence level of those new guys that are out there may not be there. But we're working through it. It'll work itself out. I mean,
but
but
it's going to be your department's going to be in charge and in command.
and it always has been. It's just that
Oh, okay. Okay.
it always has been. But when they say, "Oh, hey, by the way, this is yours now," we're like, wait, hold on. I'm okay with
And
being in
so,
charge, but don't put my name on it.
right. So who was in charge prior to y'all kind of being over it?
Um, it's always kind of been an understanding that we were going to take charge as it is, but there is this sort of mutual aid aspect. It's no different than going to a mutual aid call for a structure.
Okay.
And let's just say you got to take command because they need the older guy there to take over, a little bit. So that's always been the kind of the understanding out there. But now they're like, no, this is all you. You guys got to figure out run cards and like MCI response, and so it's a little
Okay.
bit. It's just a little like it's a little bit of a political thing, and it's like, okay, now I got to take all my guys. I got to run through ARF training, which half of them have it, half of them don't already. But
Okay.
it's never been something that we've mandated or had to mandate to do. But now it's like, all right, should we not send these guys through a 40-hour, ARF training to make sure that they're up to par with everything out there? It's ongoing.
So do y'all get by taking over? Do y'all get more funding? Do you get any kind of
Nope,
government funding
nope,
because it's a airport or
nope.
I know nothing
Yeah,
about
no,
it.
and I thought we did too. I was like, well, you guys need to pay some money for that. And they're like, no, we already pay you money. We're like, oh, shit, I guess you're right. So
So well,
I kind of owe them an apology because I called them out in a big meeting. I was like, hey guys, if you got to pay us some money if we're going to do this. And they're like, we pay you quite a bit of money already. I'm like, let me check in that. So now I got to send them an email and say, I'm really sorry about saying that. So, but they do already pay
wow.
us. Yeah. is my
So do they maintain the equipment? Do you have to do that? Is that, I mean,
yep. So
how does that work?
they maintain the equipment. It's their stuff. It would be considered a uh, they would be considered a special assignment or sort of a gosh, what's the wording I'm looking for here? A specialized team to help us out. It'd be no different than if you had a hazmat call and you had to call your regional
Okay,
hazmat.
dive, hazmat,
Yeah, it'd be like that. It'd be like that. Only
medical rescue, stuff like that.
the difference is they'll be on scene first. So they'll have to, and they're going to manage, not patient care necessarily, but you know, fire management. They're going to set up the operations roles right at the hot zone, and then when we show up, we're going to assist them until an officer, one of our officers gets there and can take command and start setting up ICS out there.
So, employee wise, are they gonna be airport employees?
Yeah,
Or they
that's
they y'all's employees?
yeah. See, that's the weird part of it, right? Yeah, you're in charge, but we're going to keep our employees. The FAA mandates that in order for them to be an airport authority, they have to respond to an incident and have an ARF truck and specialized personnel on that scene putting out fire within 3 minutes. So in order for them to keep their FAA licensing, and I don't know everything as far as that goes, but
right. No, you're good.
So they have to respond within 3 minutes. So that means they have to employ somebody out there. So there's a one man on shift. I guess 24 hours a day. I think they bump it to two people when it's really busy. There's some other little things, but yeah, it's not like we haven't been doing it already, but it's one of those things where it's like, don't throw it on my lap. Don't throw it in my face here.
Right.
Like
right.
Let me think about it. But yeah, it's just and that's just along. It kind of aligns with the summertime thing and with the fire service. We always get busier in the summertime, and now it's like, okay, now we got to focus on this. It's like, holy shit, what am I? We got a lot to do here. So
yeah,
busy times.
Yeah, we right now it's been storms that have been in my area that's been kicking our butts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of false alarms from these massive. We've had some massive storms roll through. So we've got a lot of that. Power lines down, trees down. So we've got to go and deal with that. Block roads off. SO comes in. Sheriff's Department comes and helps. But it could be hours. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Those before, are the worst.
especially when you're waiting. And they're working their butts off, but there's so many power lines down. And then the south end of our county sits on granite, like most of the south end of the county, which is like a freaking magnet for lightning.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get a lot of, during those bad storms, we'll get a lot of fires or, strikes to a house, possible fire, you know what I mean? And so we stay really, really busy. But
do you guys have
we usually
do you have a chimney? Do you have a chimney fire season? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like our normal house fire season starts when it starts cooling off.
Yeah.
And that's when the chimney fires, because people don't clean their chimneys for the most part.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest issue happens is they get in the attic.
Yeah.
So if we get a chimney fire, first thing we want to do is send people to the attic. You know what I mean? Like right off the bat, make sure that it's contained, hadn't break, because that's usually what's going to end up happening. If it's in the chimney, it starts expanding out and it starts getting into the roof.
Yeah.
So yeah, we deal a lot with that. I'm sure where you are, that's a big thing. But I think you guys probably, because you use them a lot more than we do, probably are cleaner than ours.
Well, I don't think so. I don't know if that's probably true. There is a thing too where they and I've done it myself. Their clean out process is getting it super hot. And so
Right.
they'll have a chimney fire, but they mean it to be a chimney fire.
Controlled, right.
Controlled chimney fire. So we'll get those calls and we'll show up. And it's usually the older boys that do that. They know what they're doing.
Right.
Like, I've been doing this for years, And
Yeah.
we'll get called to that, and they'll be like, "I just cleaned my chimney out." Like, that's just like, yeah, that makes sense. All right, see ya.
God forbid that. Don't want anybody in my county doing that shit. I'm gonna tell you right now, they will burn down 5 houses.
Right. No, it's like I say, we do use wood stoves a lot up here. So
right.
I think folks are used to it. So.
Well, and I think the construction over the years, I think one of the big issues is how they build chimneys versus how they used to build chimneys.
Yeah.
And putting in all the inserts, and the inserts don't get put in properly, and it's not bricked properly, and it looks all pretty on the outside, but the inside's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And so the connections that they do with the piping doesn't get completely sealed.
Yep.
And it just happens to be right where the bricking wasn't sealed properly. And I think that's a big issue. Your areas where you are, I believe the construction, especially when it comes to chimneys, are a lot better because they know this is going to be used, and inspectors are going to be looking a lot harder. Whereas here, a lot of our fireplaces are more for show than actual heat.
Yeah.
Which is except crazy. For older homes,
which is wild.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I mean I think that we purpose our heat. We need the heat, and it's expensive not to have that kind of thing. But shit,
absolutely,
wood's getting expensive anymore either. No, we call that the creosote bleed. What you're talking about there, when that creosote bleeds through the cracks of what they didn't seal up, and then it catches a spark, and that's that creosote bleed. And it'll do that through brick too.
And the thing is too is a lot of people, they use these brick starter logs, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's nothing but chemical. People don't realize that. It's nothing but chemical.
Yeah, all the byproduct
and wax
sticks. Yeah.
Yep, and it's got wax in it.
Mm-hmm.
So then when you keep burning, and the other thing that blows my mind is people using pine. I'm like, why are you putting pine in your fireplace?
Right.
Like, that is why do you think it burns so good?
Right.
It
burns fast anyway, too.
It burns really fast. Look at Christmas trees. Mm-hmm. Prime example.
Yep.
Why do they burn literally like a match?
Yeah.
Just got struck. Like, they're gone in 5 minutes, completely. So
I always wonder why that guy's there was a guy years ago that made for Christmas tree fires. He made that star that when it heated up, it would burst and put the Christmas tree out. I wonder why that never took off.
What was it now?
So
was it an ornament, or
it looked like an ornament or something on there? I can't remember. It might even have been the star itself on the tree, or maybe the angel or something. But when it got hot enough, it would burst, and maybe the fire went past it too fast. I don't really know, but I know the demonstrations I saw with it put the tree out fast. I was surprised.
Well,
I could
tell
you, one of Asian bulbs, that you see them throw into a box of burning shit.
Oh yeah. Well, I can tell you what probably happened. The same thing that happens with a lot of life safety and fire stuff for the general public.
Yep.
It'll never happen to me.
Yeah, true.
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 And that's probably why it didn't work. I mean, it's a great invention, great whatever. Hell, if I have to buy it every year and it's under $100, okay, I'm paying $200 for a tree every year. You know what I mean? Like, it's saving all my stuff. It's but I think that's the big thing, and I think a lot of times people believe that well, that's cool, but that's never going to happen to me.
Right.
Why am I going to spend the money on something that's never? Well, you pay for insurance every month.
Yeah.
For a reason.
Yeah.
Because
that's two things that you pay for that people don't understand that helps them out the most is taxes and I'm not a big person on taxes. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
It's the two things they pay that help them out the most is insurance and taxes when something happens, right?
Well, and the thing about that I've always said about insurance is it's the biggest gamble you'll take in your life.
Yeah.
Because you're gambling, you need it,
Mm-hmm.
or going to end up using it, and the insurance company is gambling, you'll never use it, and you
Yeah.
just keep paying that premium.
Oh
But
gosh.
I've never hit a deer in my entire life until the last 18 months, and I had two in the last 18 months, and I'm very blessed that I have a good insurance company that I deal with, and what have you. But um, yeah, I thank God for my insurance. I had my rental car. They came and got my vehicle. I was one time I was way out doing actually a training in a different county for the fools, and I hit a deer and was able to make it to the training. It was like 2 miles away from there. My car's struggling, and everybody's in the parking lot when I pull up, and they're like, "What the hell did you do?" Like, deer number two. Um, Within 45 minutes, I had my rental car set up, my tow set up. They were everything was taken care of. And while I was at this training, my tow tow company came and got it, took it to my place, which was almost an hour away.
Wow.
And then my buddy Peyton Owens um, took me and got me to the rental car place. So I had my rental car. So
Damn.
you know, it worked out for me well.
Worked
I can
out
tell you
good.
that. But I've paid 40 years for insurance.
Sure. Yeah, it better work out.
Yeah.
It makes you want to call them up and be like, "Listen, I've paid you so much money. Why am I not getting the red carpet here, pal?"
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And they did a great job. It's the little green guy that you see the commercials. That's who I
Oh,
use.
the
And
gecko guy. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I'll tell you, I shop about every 3 to 5 years insurance just to keep people honest.
Mm-hmm.
I am not shopping right now anytime soon.
Oh, that's good.
I've been with them for about 7 years, and great service, great everything. I'm not here advertising for them, but I've
Geico.
been very, yeah, I was very, been very happy with them, and
Well,
um,
Geico can sponsor us. That's fine.
yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I can promise you.
Yeah, right. Um, that's funny. The last time I hit a deer, I was going to a call. I was a volunteer. This was years. Was, gosh, oh boy, this was 20 years ago, or 19, 18 years, 20 years
Dang,
ago.
you're old.
I know, right? Anyway, so I'm headed. We used to go. I used to be able to go POV to the scene. When we were really
Right,
right
right.
handed. And so I'm rolling to the scene, and I get about half mile from my house, and I accidentally run over a deer. I slammed on the brakes, and I was trying to look at my radio, my phone. I was trying to see where I was going, and it was a car wreck on a big bridge. And so I look up, and there she stands, and I rolled right over the top of her. And I slammed on my brakes afterwards, and I looked back. She's not moving. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to head to the scene. So we head to the scene. I deal with that. It was like a 2-car, extrication, take him to the hospital, that kind of stuff. Well, I'm sitting there with the officer at the end of the call, and it's our SO's job to dispatch all of the animals that get hit, all the deer that get hit, bears, stuff like
Right,
that.
so they're not suffering.
Exactly. And so I hear over one of my cop buddies' radios. He's like, "Yeah, we've got a deer down in the middle of the road on the some odd road or whatever." And I'm like, "Oh boy, oh Jesus, it was me. I did it. I never told him
Oh,
that."
I thought you were gonna say, and so we went and dispatched. It was like, well, I'll take it home because it didn't. I hit the head. I didn't damage all the meat.
Right, I should have too. There's been a few times I've picked up some
Yeah,
roadkill for sure. It's good
yeah. I
meat.
mean,
I'm a roadkill guy. I will take it if it's good. I'll take it home. I ain't scared.
oh yeah, for real. Like, and that's what people are like. Oh no, it's like, look, if it's not damaged,
Yeah.
other than it's dead. You know what I mean? Like the ones I've hit, they were, it was
It
bad.
was toast.
Like I could show you pictures. The first one I hit was like 2 miles from my house. I was 5 o'clock in the morning going to work, and I hit it. It ended up being on our local Facebook community Facebook page,
Oh boy.
and it was right like couple weeks before Christmas, and I hit it. The intestines had come out its nose,
Oh
and
boy.
everybody was like, "Oh my God, somebody killed Rudolph!" All this stuff. So I ended up posting the damage it did. I said, "Well, Rudolph deserved to die from the, whatever." So, but yeah, it's kind of funny, but yeah, people are like, "Get out!" I'm like, "Yeah, 100%. That was my deer." So I hit it. It's a 2-lane road, and I hit it. And ended up being literally it landed in the median or dropped in the median of both sides. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so I made it up to our local QT, which is about 2 miles from my house, and my car's smoking and whatever. And I was like, whatever, I'm gonna go and get my coffee because I normally get coffee there before I head, the hour and a half to my work. And got my coffee, came out, I was like, yeah, I need to take this home.
Yeah.
So I drove back home. I was like, what's worse can happen?
Right.
So, I'm gonna have somebody come get me, or I'm gonna walk the 2 miles to the house. Not a big deal. So uh my insurance company again had me, and this was first thing in the morning. I was at work by noon.
Hmm.
Uh had my insurance company, got everything handled, and had a buddy of me take me to the rental place, and I was at work by noon. So
Well, there you go.
but yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's like, somebody killed
Yeah.
Rudolph.
You're like, Rudolph cost me a lot of money. Dang it.
Yeah, $4,800.
Good Lord. That's an expensive
Yeah, I didn't have
deer.
to pay all that, but that was how much damage.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, anything else? Anything else you got going on?
No, man, how about you?
Nothing crazy. Just working. Like I say, it's constant busy, 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 ramping up for summertime.
Yeah,
And then also trying to play a little bit too. Trying to get out there, going fishing, hunting, all that shit. So trying to get that done.
loving every day.
Loving it
You
all. Yeah.
suck.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's
like
the
a country
thing.
song.
Yeah, you are a country song because I mean, Georgia's beautiful. It's got a lot of stuff, but it ain't Montana, bro. Like, I'm just saying.
Well, you're
Um,
gonna have to come up and visit.
I'm definitely gonna have to because it's crazy. I'm sitting there going, you know, we talk periodically outside of this, obviously, and some of the pictures. I'm just like, you suck. You absolutely suck. Like,
Well, next week
I
I'm
got a minnow, and
yeah.
you're getting, major fishing, major hunting, and I'm like, okay, I killed a mosquito. Does that count? I hit a deer. Does that count? So.
do you hunt up down there? You guys got hunting seasons and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like
Yeah, I haven't
deer,
been hunting.
obviously.
Yeah, I hadn't been hunting in years, but just because time schedules and stuff like that. But yeah, I got. Well, we're in the fire service, so of
Yeah.
course everybody pretty much hunts.
Yeah.
I got a lot of bow guys and what have you, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like I say, I don't think I would I don't know what I would do if I didn't have just the outdoors to go to just to be in. I mean,
yeah.
I will go stir crazy. My wife will tell me you need to get your ass to the woods because I can't deal with you
You're
anymore.
annoying the hell out of me.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
out of the house.
Get out of here. Yeah, exactly. I'm headed actually to the Missouri River to we do a fishing trip over there every year. We
Oh,
usually
nice.
catch a bunch of big catfish and a bunch of big, you can catch sturgeon, walleye, pike, just every fish you can think of. But it's a lot of fun. We go over there every year and camp out for about 5 days, and it's
Oh,
fun.
that's awesome.
It's a ball. It's a ball. But if I didn't have it, I would go crazy for sure.
Yeah,
So would my wife.
yeah. Well, I'm sure she would.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like
Yeah.
for me, fishing wise, I grew up in Miami, and I love the ocean and deep sea fishing, fishing offshore, fishing off piers. I love the ocean. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a total different environment. But I also love the mountains.
Yeah.
But I love the ocean more. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
Um, so, but I've never been to Montana. Um, but I would love to visit because I've heard just nothing but spectacular.
Oh,
And I mean, Georgia, we got some cool stuff,
sure.
but it ain't Montana.
Well, it is nice that I can go from being at work, sitting at my desk all day, punching in, some letters and numbers and shit like that to, to go into a lake after work or being on the top of a mountain somewhere, 2 hour, an hour away from the house. It's pretty nice. I can't complain much, There's something to be said for, being able to just go out there and just hear nothing. That's what I like.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Crisp smells of wildlife and just no sound at all is where I'm at. That's where I love.
Right.
If it isn't crackling, it better just be nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
okay.
crackling. I'm in uniform and gear.
Right. So speaking of uniform and gear, do we want to chat about some of these news articles we've been listening to, thinking about?
Yeah, definitely. So, really, we'll want to kind of talk about, we talk a lot about the safety culture on our podcast and why we've gotten so astray in the fire service in general.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in them before us, but in a lot of services, my own department, we talked earlier, outside of this, you could see that possibly in your department with certain individuals, not everybody, that kind of think that way. And I think, we've talked about it before, that I think a lot of that comes from the EMS side of, PPE seems safe. There's a lawsuit right now going on in Michigan against two firefighters who issued an all clear. And they've been fighting this since May 28th is when it happened of 2022. This fire killed 2 kids. And now through the legal system here 3 years later, as of May 15th, 2025, this lawsuit can continue. Now, there's a couple crazy things about this lawsuit right now. The mother's filing a lawsuit. So 2 firefighters had gone in and did the primary search. It's a 2-story dwelling. 2 kids were upstairs, the oldest being 12. And these 2 firefighters said, yeah, we went upstairs in our primary search. And for those of you who aren't aware, in the fire service, we do a primary and then we do a secondary because we want to make sure that, we're humans. Things can be messed and whatever. And so these 2 particular firefighters said they went upstairs. And as we find out later, they didn't. Secondary search, they pull these kids out. They lasted a couple days. Heavy smoke inhalation. They weren't burned. Heavy smoke inhalation, and they passed in the hospital June 1st and June 3rd, respectively. So I think my big issue with this, these 2 firefighters, not only did they not do their job, they came over the radio and said that, everything's good, everything's clear.
Primary all
But
clear,
in the fire service, what are we going to do? That's great. We're still going to do our secondary.
Mm-hmm.
These 2 firefighters who said they did a primary, both first and second floor, never went upstairs.
So
I
have a quick question about this, and
go ahead.
I read the article a little bit, right? And so I just, in that radio transition inside, when they're changing divisions, right, from first story to second story, even in their primary search,
right?
I don't know if you heard any radio traffic from this call at all, but did they say, transitioning up to Division 2 or any of that, or did they just come across and say primary all clear? Do you know that at all?
I have not heard the radio traffic. I've tried to find it. I'm sure I could request it legally.
Sure.
But I have not heard it. But from the articles that I've read, Basically, they said it was all clear, but they never went upstairs.
They never even
Um,
touched foot upstairs then.
they never even touched
That's
it. They
wild.
called an all clear both floors. They actually reported that in their narratives after the fact that they had already gone upstairs. They stated that they had cleared both floors, and then they actually put that in their fire reports and kind of stuck with that. And we're humans. I know general public don't want to know that we miss stuff,
Sure.
but we miss stuff. Kind
Yeah.
of like when you're at work typing a report or something, you may miss something.
Yeah.
Whatever. I know it sounds horrible, but that's the reality of life. We're humans. But to lie about it and never go upstairs and report that it was all clear, and then to put that in your report after the fact, knowing they found two victims, that's a big issue. These two should never be firemen again,
No.
anywhere, ever again.
Now, I have more questions thinking about it.
Yeah.
So the other question would be, why did they even say they went upstairs? Why didn't they just say, our communication was Division 1. We did a primary on the Division 1. The other question is why didn't they actually go upstairs? There was no fire. They just wanted to be on the nozzle, put some fire out.
Everything that I've read thus far in the different articles, it really doesn't go into that. Conditions were not that bad. Like I said, the two children did not get burned.
Yeah.
They passed, which we know most people pass, from smoke inhalation before their body ever gets hit by fire.
Yeah.
Right. I think it was laziness. Personally, I don't know the entire story, so I want to make that very clear.
Yeah.
But from what I've read, they basically just weren't doing their job.
Well, and the other question too is them putting that on paper in their reports, falsifying documentation. Is there a legal stance there? That is a government document. Is there some sort of legal? I mean, we've had falsification of documentation before. It's happened.
Oh, absolutely.
But generally, it's on the medical side of like, hey, I gave this guy 5 milligrams of yada yada yada, or I didn't. They say they did, but they actually didn't. Whatever it may be, something like that. But it's just crazy to me that you would see, that you would. I don't know. We were talking about this earlier with the tenable space versus occupiable space.
Correct.
Occupiable space by us, by the firefighter, is way different than a tenable space or a occupiable space by a person. And it's not our job as the firefighters to determine viability of the patient. It is our job,
right?
In a mass casualty rescue scenario, we're not just kind of picking and choosing who we take out of the hot zone. We're picking and going. We're just picking and going.
Right.
The first person we come to, we're going. Unless their head's not chopped off, we're picking them and rolling with them. That's kind of... So it's crazy to me that we hear these stories time and time again of these occupiable spaces by firefighters, whether they're by firefighters or by victims, and we're not entering those areas because they're too hot for who?
And this is a prime example. We had on Brian McCree, and here's a prime example of lackadaisical fire response.
Yep.
100%. His brother passed away because of it's fully involved. But his bedroom wasn't touched. He's 20 feet inside right by a window. Here's another prime example. We got 2 kids that died because of 2 lazy-ass firemen?
Yeah.
And then they lied on their documentation. They didn't even take responsibility up front until they were pushed. And that's the crazy part. So it gets a little bit crazier. This kind of irritated me, and so the chief realizes that stuff doesn't add up, and as they go through in more into the investigation, Um, let me find this chief's name. Anyway, the chief in January of 2023, Barton is the chief, uh, filed a federal court claim for $10 million.
Good Lord.
Uh, $10 million because he did not change his recommendation that these two firemen, whose names I'm not going to say but are in the article. One of the reasons I'm not going to say them is I can't say them. I can't even pronounce the names. But
Right.
anyway, um, he wanted them terminated for falsifying reports, for lying, and all these things. They weren't terminated up front. He was. The chief was trying to terminate these firefighters. Kind of went against the union and all this stuff. So now his lawsuit, as of May 15th of 2025, is allowed to go forward as well. So it's a shit show. I mean, it is a complete shit show. So you have two firefighters who lied and falsified, didn't go after them on the primary search. The secondary search, they found these two kids, took them to the hospital. They died a couple days later from smoke inhalation, not from being burned, from smoke inhalation. The chief went against and wanted to fire these two firefighters. He was fired instead, and now he's suing, and so is the mom, rightfully so, in my opinion.
It makes you wonder how much the union had to do with that. I mean,
Yeah,
these unions protect
and
these
protecting their own,
firefighters,
man.
dude. It's crazy. Like you've heard stories about like, sexual allegations and stuff like that on some of these
Oh,
firefighters, and then
absolutely.
the union goes to bat for them, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Well, and I think a union. We don't have union issues down here, right?
right?
Um, as much as up north. I mean, we have a couple of unions for some departments. But we are like my department 100% is not a union. I think the unions have great purpose. I think the problem is the union's about my money versus about my protection more than anything, right?
100
So
percent.
they get a case like this and they're like, no, 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 no. We need to keep our membership and show we're strong and we're
Yep.
there for the firemen.
Yeah.
As you're screwing me the rest of my life,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Yeah. These guys,
I don't know enough about them,
yeah, they
so
pay $60 a month for a T-shirt and a hat. Like I'm not,
right.
I don't want to talk bad about the unions because there is necessity for union representation or sort of representation for the firefighters. Sometimes I could see these places, New York, these big departments
Right.
that have so many LA Fire that has so many firefighters that if you get somebody above you that is just a piece of shit that doesn't wants to play with your safety or play with your way of life then I could see where the union would be helpful. But when it comes to these smaller departments that have 20 guys or 40 guys, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what the fuck, like if
Well, see
you're
this.
there's other ways to get at the administration or get at the than a union,
Well,
but
and this
whatever.
is this actual story is out of Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
So I don't know how large the department actually is,
Yeah,
but
don't
I'm
drink the
sure it's a
water. Maybe they drank the water
yeah.
before they went.
Apparently, they were drinking the water because you know these guys they should be gone.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, they are now, but they should. My personal opinion. I'm not a big person about charging first responders with criminal neglect unless they deserve it.
Oh, this is
This
deserved. Yeah.
this is something that I again I don't know the whole entire story other than the articles that I've read about
Sure.
it. But to get to the point in federal courts, you got to have really good probable cause and really good evidence.
Yeah.
Um, because federal courts shut shit down all the time. So, am I saying they should be criminally charged? Probably. I'll be honest. Like, this is not. You're not doing your job at all. You didn't even attempt. And I think
Yeah.
that's the cover up aspect of lying that I didn't go upstairs. It'd be different if I'm trying to make upstairs, I need a line. Because a lot of times, and I don't think the general public knows this, a lot of times we do these searches, there's no water in the building, especially on a primary. You
Yeah,
know,
a quick
we
one.
may or may not have a line.
Quick victim search. Yeah,
And so,
you may not have it. Yeah.
yeah. So, we may not even have a if we've got known victims, we're still trying to get that pulled. Second dude is we're going in for the grab, right?
Sure.
So I could understand if they were trying to get upstairs and pushing upstairs, doing a primary, and they're met with fire.
Yeah.
Hey, I need a hose.
Doesn't sound like
None of that happened though. Yeah, exactly.
That's the way.
None of that happened. So
even if it's superheated gases up there, I mean,
yeah,
that's one of the things I don't like about the thermal imager, right? Like, yes, it's a great tool. Great tool for finding victims, great tool for finding hot spots, fire, get an understanding. But sometimes that fire is just black in your screen. It's just a harsh, hard. If you go to look up them stairs and it's just a wall of hot, it kind of slows you down. It screws with your mind a little bit to say, hey, I got to slow down for a second. And on a primary, like, I don't know what the temperatures were. And if the temperatures weren't enough to burn these victims, then
correct.
And we go back to the same thing. We are, as firefighters, we pay $2,000 and $3,000 for our suits, to go inside of these structures. Why are we doing that? If we can't take a little bit of heat to find a victim, why are we buying these suits? Like, we might as well go back to the old days where they wore fucking, leather shoes and
rubber jackets.
Rubber jackets.
Like,
yeah. Come on now. We're doing this for a reason. It brings me to that video that's all over the internet. The them before us video. Have you seen this one where the guy is so couple story house, first floor, they're on the first floor, he's outside of the house. This firefighter is standing by the window putting his gear on. He's got his turnout coat, turnout jacket on. He's got everything except for his mask, right?
Right.
You can see a victim kind of flailing inside the window just by him. And he's not taking his time. He's trying to put his stuff on to, his hat and his mask, and he's trying to mask up, put his gloves on. He's taken forever. Well, one of the neighbors just walks over to the window that this firefighter is about to rescue this victim from, and just helps the victim out the window. And that's that safety culture thing. It's like, what in the hell?
You know what? I'll take the write up.
Yes.
But I think, like I said, we've talked about this before in that sometimes, quote unquote, uppers get in the way, and the whole safety culture. But I'll take the freaking write up. Like, I'll go up with no gear to get this person. You know what I mean? Like, that to me is a immediate life safety issue.
Yeah. And I've met lots of departments, that, whoa, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
My phone just started typing everything I just said. Anyway, so I'll get fired. I will 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Without a doubt. If I feel the need, because a lot of times being an officer, white helmet, I'll get there first. And if I have to go into a structure,
blacker,
right. I'm going there first to save lives. So if somebody's hanging out a window, I'm going to try to save them. If my boss is going to then afterwards fire me for not following direction and I would save somebody's life, I'll take it all day long.
100%. 100%. And I think we've talked about this before, and I think that's one of the great things about the Unnamed Fireman podcast is we're very like-minded. I think we agree and disagree on certain issues, but I think one thing that we agree on is this safety culture thing where I don't know if that's where these firemen were when they were dealing with this,
Right.
but you know, and I've said this before. My personal opinion is a lot of this comes with or from the EMS side, because when you go to EMT school, it's constantly PPE seems safe, but when you go through fire school, it's not that. It's because inherently our job is not safe.
Right.
Um, and so I think a lot of that's come over the years, because fire departments never in the old days never transported,
Right.
and
Right.
now we're probably 50 to 75% that do transport
Mm-hmm.
for different reasons, whatever. And thank God our department, we're very blessed. We don't transport. I know you hate me for that.
I do. I do. You're actually the worst person
Yeah,
ever.
yeah, exactly. But so I think that that's a problem because, you know, I'm EMT, right? So I've gone through that training, but my attitude is like, oh, on a medical call, okay, yeah, I don't want to touch anybody with bare hands. I don't know what junk you got, whatever. But when it comes to fire, I don't give a shit because that's my passion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've worked in an ER, I've worked on a med unit, but my passion is the fire side of this business. And, I think that's where a lot of this safety culture has gotten mixed matched into
Yep.
fire
Well,
departments.
I mean,
Cause I
with
know a lot of departments that do transport, the guys that are on med units fight fire off of med units.
right.
But that culture, that mental culture, you can't. It's ingrained in them so much about their medical safety that they forget and start bringing that in. And it's not the same. I mean,
Right.
it's fire is dangerous. We know that it can be deadly. We know that. Yeah, a medical call could be, but let's be real, not normally.
Yeah. Most of the time, it's just
You
us getting shot as we're coming in because they think we're an intruder or something.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Um.
Grandma stubbed her toe 3 weeks
Well,
ago and it's still hurting at 2 o'clock in the morning.
and you make a good point. I mean, every medical, what's the first thing during all of your medical testing, your EMT testing, they told you to do? BSI,
PPE,
yeah,
scene
PPE,
safe.
yep,
Yep.
scene safe. So it's like, all right, well, that I could see, all those young kids that are coming out of that class first are like, okay, what? And then the unions don't help either as far as the safety stuff goes. You know,
Hmm.
I mean, this PFAS thing has gotten out of hand.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. And how long we've been doing this for years, and I know I'm gonna
Right.
probably have, I'm gonna have nut cancer at some point in my life, right? But that's kind of what we signed up for, right? I mean, that's
Right.
unfortunately there's a lot of old school boys would be like, yeah, this is what we, no shit, I'm gonna have cancer. Like, who cares? Like, you don't have to tell me there's
Right.
chemicals in this shit. I already know that. you know,
Right. Hell, there's chemicals in our gear. And, you know,
right?
I'm an anti Nomex person just because I trust,
You're
believe that there's chemicals in that. It holds
oh
chemicals more. I'm
yeah.
like, look at all the volunteers who go out in shorts and, you got a lot of departments that go with that now, but they go out there t-shirt and jeans and throw on gear. Like, do I really need Nomex when it's 100 degrees outside, sweating my ass off,
Yeah.
and you want me to be wearing, Nomex?
Mm-hmm.
Like, seriously? I'm not, I don't know.
Well, no, I'm with you there. I mean, it's like the polyester thing. Don't wear the polyester under your turnout gear. Like, oh, come on. If it adheres to my skin because of that bullshit, then I don't know. Come on.
Well, here's my thing too is like with our gear, and the air and the inner liner, if it gets to that point that shit's melting,
Yeah, I'm dead anyway.
I've got other
Yeah,
issues.
yeah, exactly.
I've got
Um,
other issues. If my clothing is burning to my skin, at this point, it's gone through all my gear. I'm probably not here anyway.
right. No
So,
shit. No shit. Well, I'll tell you. I was thinking about that. I didn't even think about this, but I can edit in that video
oh
about
yeah,
duh. I'll edit that video in at that point. I'm new. I don't know what I'm doing, right?
I don't either.
But
I'm old and still don't know what I'm doing.
it will be interesting to see what transpires from that. Now, I just read that those firefighters resigned.
Versus being terminated.
Which is trash. I mean, they're going to be able to get a job somewhere else.
Well, and that's why one of the parts of the chief suing, because he was terminated.
Yeah.
And he was trying to have them terminated. And so that was one of the issues was he was actually fired.
That's crazy.
Because he was trying to get them fired.
That's wild.
He was not going with the cover up.
Well, and
so I hope he gets his 10 million.
I hope he gets
plus.
his 10 million. Yeah, no shit. I mean, it's not coming out of anybody's pocket. It'll come from an insurance company that they've got.
Yep.
Stupid.
Maybe they'll lose their insurance. So that's crazy
insurance.
though. Yeah.
I mean, they'll
hire for the taxpayer.
They'll get 11. They'll just get 11 million. Use give him 10 and use the other million to pay for some more insurance.
Yeah.
Jesus, it's wild. What are you thinking about these riots in L.A.?
Personally, I think it's stupid. The whole entire all this riot stuff, and I think it's hysterical that people are like, "Oh, Trump's doing this big parade with military." Like it's done every year.
Yeah,
it's the 50th, 51st anniversary of the Army. Mm-hmm. This has been going on for years. Has nothing to do with Trump. Just happens to be it's Trump's birthday at the same time. So
Yeah. I love how they think he's some kind of, Kim Jong-un or whatever the hell.
Right. And I think a lot of that comes to that. I think it's great that the military's getting involved. I think it was great he brought the Marines in. I think this shit needs to be squashed.
Me too.
I mean, you saw what happened in Michigan with the politician and her husband.
I did.
There was actually 4. There were actually 4. They were assassinated. The other 2 were in the hospital.
Yep. And the funny thing about that is the news articles about that are saying that this guy is a Republican. He's not. He's a Democrat. He worked with them.
Yeah, he was He's been with Walls, whatever.
Yeah.
Since 2017.
Yeah.
So
it's wild to me that they would say that he's a Republican. They're like, it's politically motivated, but it's not. It's politically motivated on their own side. It's because they were actually
they're trying to cover it up.
Yeah, the two that got killed were a part of some bill that is more center leaning instead of and so he was apparently pissed off at these, and I don't know everything. I just don't quote me on anything. I'm just this is
no. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
right.
Apparently, there was a bill that was very left leaning, or they were very center leaning with this bill that they voted for, and he was very, very left leaning, which he was pissed off at them for doing that. Apparently, that is his motivation. I don't know, but
and they refused to sign.
Yeah.
And vote for positive.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
I just stopped the recording and we're back again. We're back. He's back.
All right. Well, you got anything else on this? I mean,
nothing. I think it's like I say, it's always that, it's that us versus them culture, that safety culture that we need to get out of that. And we got to start training to the level at which we want to rescue lives and save lives. Like this bullshit of it's too hot. It's not, yes, there's times where it's too hot, not tenable, not occupiable, but
then you pull back and you go defensive.
Exactly.
But you make sure nobody's in there.
Yeah. If any of those checked offs, untenable or occupiable, if you can't determine, you fucking find out, that it's not.
Well, that's why we have DES. And I think that's why we have a 360. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Because you know, I'll go back uh, to Brian's story. Uh, did they really do a 360? Because I don't know. But his brother's room was untouched
That's
by
wild.
fire.
That's wild.
So did they really do a 360? Because when they pulled up, they called it a defensive attack. So did they actually do a 360 or just see fire and be like, oh, whatever? They knew there was a victim. That's that's the problem I have.
Yeah.
You know, this even if you pull up to a vacant home, fuck, look at Detroit. How
Right.
many vacant homes and they run a ton of fire? You know what they do? They go in every one. You know why? Because of the homeless population.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Squatters and stuff like that.
Yep.
Could you imagine how many deaths they'd have? They get grabs all the time. And you know why? Because they go in.
Yeah.
They go in and after them.
Yeah. You can't
And
save
here,
anybody if
this
you don't try.
department, right, and this department here in Georgia, let him die. Now, did he get overcome by smoke? Would he have been dead already anyway? We don't know, but you know what?
Yeah, we don't. It's
He'd have
not our
been
job.
found before. Right.
It's not our job to figure that out. Our job is to
Nope.
rescue him. So
Yeah, exactly.
I had a good point while you were talking there, and I freaking lost it. Why do you do that to me? I get to thinking about what you're saying, and I'm like, oh my god, oh jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Sorry. So I just posted a video not too long ago about what are things to look at. There was a pretty well involved building. I'm sure you saw it. It was a pretty well involved building, vehicle up at the front, doors open. And I mean, it's fully involved from the Alpha side. You could see it's fully involved. They're putting water on it.
Right.
They're not really being very aggressive, but that's for them. I don't know the whole story. So, but the point of the video was, hey, what are you seeing here? You at the Alpha side sees this fully involved structure, and you just said it
Correct.
earlier. You're like, hey, that's what a 360 is for. 100%. If you'd have walked around the back of that structure, maybe you'd have had some occupiable or tenable space in that back that you, even though it's fully involved on the Alpha side, you've got to find out.
Doesn't mean it's fully involved in the whole building.
It's fully involved. Exactly. So do your 360 for sure.
And you may, and I think the other thing about the 360 that lay people, whatever, don't realize, but everybody in the fire service should, is that 360 to see where else we can go in and attack, or we can go in and get a grab.
Yep.
Because and start our search and start ventilation, and that's the 360s to try and get a better idea of where we need to go.
Yep.
What should we do? Do we need a unit here on the Alpha? Obviously, we need to get the fire, because we know that if we get that fire out, that solves 90% of the problems.
Yep. Once
right?
It's out, that's
get
it.
the fire out, and it resolves 90%, right? If not 100%.
Yeah.
But at least 90%, we know right off the bat that fire's gone. We're in good shape.
Yeah, for sure.
We may have a little bit of rafter falling down or whatever. That 360 gives us that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to something we were saying off the podcast was, firefighters die in a line of duty because of bad decisions.
Sure.
We'll talk about that in our next episode, but that also goes for where we talk about the safety culture. That's why victims die in a lot of scenarios. Here was a prime example that we talked about in this episode about this family who were shafted by two firefighters not doing their job.
Yeah.
And I think that what really pisses me off more than anything, then they lied about it.
Yeah, that's the worst. I mean, I don't want to say it's not the worst part of it that they lied. Obviously, there's 2 lives that were lost, right?
Right.
But to try to cover up your actions and to not be a coward, is cowardly. It's just crazy to me. Like, I just can't even.
I'm gonna leave everyone with this point of the rest of the article before we finish up, but The they were left in smoldering heat with heavy smoke for roughly 7 minutes after an all clear was issued. Um, until the time they were found during secondary sweep by other firefighters who took them home. All right. Or took them from the home. They had it wasn't burn related. It was all their deaths were related directly to smoke inhalation and carbon monoxide, which is from fire around, whatever, but they were not burned. So that just goes to all you firefighters out there. Do your fucking job.
100%.
Do your job. And if you can't do
Tell 'em.
your job,
You tell them.
get out.
You tell them.
Get out.
You tell them.
No, I'm serious. Like, this shit pisses me off.
Yeah.
And here's a great thing that here we are on Father's Day, and that father's got 2 kids that are gone because of the lack of professional. I use that term loosely. Firefighters. So what are you? Are you going to risk it all? Are you going to be these guys? That's all I got to say about it. Sorry.
Nope. That's passion right there, baby. Passion. It's okay to be upset as long as you're passionate about it, right?
Yeah. It's a very unfortunate, and we'll follow up on this later now as we get more information. Maybe 6 months, a year, but we'll definitely follow up.
I'd love to interview those guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a bunch of horse shit, is my opinion. I agree.
I mean, not on here, but maybe in the woods. But whatever.
Yeah, right? little midnight ride.
Yeah.
Okay.
To the Everglades, but whatever.
I say that's probably it for this episode. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, definitely. Happy Father's Day again, man.
You too.
Definitely, and make sure you guys follow Rusty on his social. We were getting our Instagram up.
Yep.
So you'll be able to follow us on there as well. We'll start getting some stuff posted on there. But yeah, man.
Yep.
Enjoyed it as always. And we'll talk soon, guys.
All right, man. Thank you.